Welcome to Politics as we view it. I like talking, so sometimes I get scared that I might take it, round and round and round and round. But I intend to make this as precise as possible. First of all, to appreciate all of you for working with us through this journey. And when I say us, this is a special, of course, form of gratitude to the team that has made us come all the way. We kept on saying that we need to set up our YouTube page. We kept on saying year in, year out, but finally, it happened this year and some months ago. And Politics as we view it, just like that, is a brand that is growing by the day, thanks to you. And of course, this then speaks to the fact that we are Kenyans and we are concerned about what is happening in the country and beyond. Just relate, what is happening at the global stage and what it relates to us and Africa at large. I know the other day the US went for elections. And, just like that, it is Trump again. And we want to understand just what policies America will have that will speak to international integration and so much more. We just take a look at different countries and relate the situation. Because then we always say that if one country coughs, the other will definitely catch a cold. So it is our business to understand what is happening locally and what is happening in the global stage and relate that. So that's basically what Politics as we view it has been. And we certainly hope to take it a notch higher come next year. I think this video is largely done to just highlight some of the highlights that we've had as a country. Just looking at President William Ruto's reign, 2 years old, and now looking forward to next year. We have looked at what has happened democratically in our spaces. For the very first time, we get to see our second deputy president being impeached successfully, at the level of, the houses of parliament, and perhaps being challenged at the level of the courts. We still do not have nothing much, out of that. But it is a clear indication that as a country, indeed, we have grown democratically. You remember those times when we were talking about impeachment, especially for the governors, and we could sit down as Kenyans, glued on TV, just to get to see whether, Governor Wambora is going to be impeached, whether, Mike Sonko is going to be impeached, whether, Babayao Waitito is going to be impeached. And, those ones happened successfully, and we were happy to say that we are growing democratically, we're implementing what the Constitution says, and here we are. We have had a very interesting conversation of impeaching the deputy president, and successfully. While many will have labeled that a political game, and indeed, it is a political game, reality is that it has put our constitution to test, the rule of law. And we can evidently say that as a people, then we get to learn by the day what the constitution dictates and, mandates us to do. And we practice that, and we recognize the loopholes therein, and we seek to have conversations that are going to, seal these very loopholes. Remember when we talked about the nullification of a general election, a presidential election, and it happened in this country, setting a president, and the rest of the global fraternity were looking at us, and they were saying, oh, incredible. And, we did that successfully and peacefully. Equally, something that we certainly have to appreciate and say, what? We have lived to test our constitution, though we continue to do it. The 2010 constitution that was granted to us during the Kibaki times, and of course, equally put to test, so many things in relation to what played out in the 2007, 2008, elections, and perhaps just looking at the difficult times that we experienced over, that. And it dragged us behind as a people, we must admit. But thanks to the 2010 Constitution as well, we have managed to address these concerns, based on what is dictated in the very same Constitution. And legally, at that spaces, or in those spaces of the corridors of justice, many have argued that we have a loophole in that space of the corridors of justice, that sometimes when it comes to the questions of jurisdictions, that when it comes to the questions of, courts and cases presented to them, we don't get to find justice. But reality is that we also must acknowledge that indeed we have made strides. And my business this time round is just to say Asante Sana for working with us through this journey. It is to say thank you, Sana, for contributing, tremendously and, passionately to these conversations that build us as a people. We have talked about the Adani saga. We have talked about just how important it is as a people to discuss the African Union Commission chairmanship that is bid for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, because we understand that that will shape how politics plays out in 2025. Yeah. And we have discussed numerous other things, including gender-based violence, which is equally our business. And we have discussed the politics here. And I have seen, as you know, getting on the page, watching, viewing, sharing, as well as, just dropping your comments as to that. Some have agreed with the analysis that we have made. Some have disagreed, and that is healthy. My call this time around is that we look forward to a great 2025. I find myself finding it difficult to say year 2025. Yeah, my clarion call is that let us engage. Let us tell each other what are the most important subjects that we need to tackle, that we need to touch on, that we need to discuss as a people. We keep saying that politics is the bloodline of every activity of a nation. If you want to talk about development, you can't talk about development and miss to talk about politics, or miss to, touch on politics. If you want to look at, better healthcare, today we have the question of SHIF, SHA, and the transition, and Kenyans feel like, well, the government is shortchanging us in many ways. It is the government. It is the politicians. We talk about the education sector. We still are grappling with the transition from, 844 system to the competency-based curriculum. We look to the politicians to give us direction. We have talked about, basically how do we transform our economy. It is the politician that dictates just how we shape the economy. But equally, we should be reminded that our voice counts. It's basically what the Constitution begins by saying. The sovereignty belongs to the people. And therefore, if we have this sovereignty, we must not allow for the politicians to always dictate what it is that we think and we term to be right. Today we're talking about vaccinations of our, animals and all that. And Kenyans feel like, well, we shouldn't just get excited and say, fine, vaccinate, without knowing what is in there for us. And so I think it's a healthy discourse. It's a healthy way to approach our politics as a people. It is a healthy way to see Kenyans engaging and vibrantly having conversations online. Sometimes we hit so hard. Sometimes it's painful to see what we write. It is painful to see what we say. But I like the fact that in all that, we bring ourselves back to sobriety and we say that the nation is bigger than an individual. And therefore, even as we engage in this discourse, we chart ways that are good for us. Oh, thanks to the Gen Z's movement, the millennials movement of this here, we have known our capability as a people. We have known just how much the sovereignty indeed lies on our hands. We have known that Mr. Politician is not the final say, but the people have the ultimate say. I hope that we keep this spirit, this spirit of saying that this is our nation and therefore we must stay woke to remind our politicians that wakicheza tutawasalimia. But we must also, join in to make sure that we make things easy for them. That when they present proposals, when they present policies, we scrutinize them, and we scrutinize them in a manner that is healthy, that is progressive. We focus on ideology more than, tribal lines, more than political affiliations, more than personal interests. I know many of them are in that space of being tumbocrats, but all the same, we must call them to order. And we can't call them to order if we're not approaching this with sobriety. And so I just want to say Asante Sana. I just want to say kudos to Kenyans for actively engaging on all this kind of political talk. I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty details of, speaking political and heavy jargon and terms, but I simply want to say Asante in the simplest way possible, but also reminding us that indeed we are on course towards making our nation better. Like the mantle is with us, the ball is on our court, and it's incumbent upon us to build a healthy nation. It is incumbent upon us to build a beautiful Kenya, if not for us, then for our children and their children. Let them be singing and say that, the people who came before us did marvelous for us. The people who came before us made sure that we have a beautiful nation, just like we always sing about our forefathers, and we appreciate them. That, for a moment they said, mkoloni aende kwao, Mkenya apate uhuru, and uhuru we have had. 1963, 1964, we continue to soldier on. Just the other day we celebrated Jamhuri Day. That's a clear indication that 61 days and counting, 61 years and counting, indeed, there's a nation. The last clip we had was a clip to just highlight how painful a scenario we are at, or we are in as a country. That, people have decided watakuwa waizi, that everybody else feels like they have lost their hope. Everybody else feels like, we do not have a nation, that tutalala hivi tuamke tusikie Kenya iliuzwa. But we can't lose all that we have just because we cannot keep our hope high. We keep our hope high. We look forward to a great year. We look forward to closing the year in great peace and in one accord. And certainly I look forward to have all of you and many more who will come, of course, courtesy of us, that is babies. Then, of course, we get to meet next year and we chart the way forward and we engage, in all this conversation that is going to make us better as a country. From the entire team of politics as we view it, we're here to say Asante, Edu, Brayo, Victor. We certainly appreciate Jakes. We certainly appreciate Freddie and so many of us that are always here making sure that, we get into the space of research. We make sure that we have great and quality videos, and we're looking forward to make it bigger and better next year. This is just a simple highlight and a simple message of gratitude for always, having our back. This is Politics as we View It. My name is Linda Alela. Bye-bye. Merry Christmas.